dad wouldn't let the police officers talk to you. So
Right.
that also
Anytime that he
seems
could
weird.
block that, he did. Huh?
It seems weird. I mean, I know in Canada is a bit different, like in terms of, there would have been folks from Child Protection Services there, and they would have gotten you away from your adoptive fathers to talk to you. You wouldn't have gone through that sort of horror in Canada. I'm really sad that's what occurred.
At one point, CPS did take me, so I got into the foster care system, and ultimately, I'm just gonna. I was ungovernable, incorrigible. At that point in my life, if you said something to me, I didn't necessarily. I didn't care who you were. I wasn't necessarily going to do that, and I might just hit you. Because that was just my response to life at that point. So eventually I made my way right back to that house. So I can tell you that throughout the process of trying to work with me, Jane Goodall was one of the people that worked with me. So I know that she is still alive. I think she's still alive. I think she's 91 now.
Yeah.
And she might recall having worked with me, because I would have been one of the strangest cases she ever had. Because at around that time frame, I had made the decision that I would no longer let anybody get within arm's reach of me. And if they did, I'd fight for my life. So, people had to stay away from me. I could talk. I mean, I wasn't like a feral animal, but I just would not allow people within my personal space anymore. And because of her work, with apes and everything, with gorillas, they kind of reached out to her to make contact with me to see if they could help me.
Yeah. And did you talk to Jane Goodall at all about what you'd experienced getting trafficked? I know when you and I spoke by email, messenger, you said was from during about 1978 to 1986 is what you remembered, 9 to 13, but you're not sure it could have been as early as 6 or 7 years old.
Right. I don't really start remembering what was going on until about 10 or 11. And I just know that it happened before that. I can remember being sexually assaulted by family. That's some of my very first memories. So, but as far as taking me to other places and these parties and whatnot, I know that sort of thing was happening, but I just don't have a good enough recollection to really piece together much of a story.
So whether you were 6 or 7 years old or 10 or 11 years old with the parties? When you
Right.
Okay.
I know family was assaulting me, and then friends of family were assaulting me as early as 6 or 7. I know that. Some of my very first memories are of being assaulted. But as far as taking me to places to make money at these parties, I don't have a clear recollection. It may have happened as early as the first sexual assaults that were happening with family. But I don't have a clear recollection if that was going on to that scale at that time, but do have a recollection from about 10 or 11.
Okay. So, how much?
I know it's...
No, it's okay. I'm glad you and I are able to have such a thorough discussion, and I appreciate again how straightforward and forthright you are. It's extremely important.
I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to point fingers in every direction, but I have really thought about, okay, what do I recall vividly enough that I would put my hand on the Bible in a courtroom, raise my hand, and say, "Yep, that's the truth." And what I am as close to 100% certain that if you put me on a polygraph, it would come back just as perfect.
Yeah.
So there are other things that I could maybe point fingers at, but then it kind of gets into muddying the water because I don't really remember them that well.
Well,
So
I think
that's why I've just stuck.
yeah, no, that's good, and I think what I'd like to do, like, we'll continue discussing a bit about what we're talking about now. The things that you're less sure of, I'd like to look at a second a conversation just entirely focused on what you're not sure of, just because I think there is some important information there, but I don't want to muddy the waters in terms of what we're speaking about now that you are willing to testify in a court of law about. So let's continue focusing about any of the details about what you're willing to swear to in a court of law, and then then let's look at. I would maybe look at, say, a second discussion and any follow-on questions from this discussion, or I might just look at getting everything transcribed, and I'm just going to look at it raw, because honestly, in terms of there's obviously thousands and thousands of pieces of video footage, film that the FBI took, that's all gone into some whoever's been trying to profit off of is nonsense. So what I'm looking at, I'm thinking even a combination, like just a brief summary from me, like a paragraph, and I'll even look at just publishing the raw audio file of our discussion with the text messages, because I think the context is really important. I think especially because there's been so much collusion regarding copy editing of video footage that, folks that are really that are genuinely wanting justice, for them to just hear the audio recordings and read the text messages is plain as day. Anybody that experiences an ounce of integrity will be able to discern the truth. And I think it's so important.
And I kind of wanted to discuss one other thing, too. One kind of theme at these parties that seem to be very very well thought out is they would have a larger party in the beginning, right? And in these larger parties, you might have, say, a couple of fights or some drug use or things that were kind of, let's say, mildly illegal. But the parties would go on for multiple days, and as the thing wound down to the smaller inner circle and the last day or last 2 days or whatever, that's when the really horrible shit happened. Mm-hmm. So some of the people that attended the party, possibly even people like Clarence Thomas or Lindsey Graham, may have been involved in lesser things, but then were also at the same time and place where these more horrible things happened, but they didn't necessarily participate in those more horrible things. So